Makhija, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Shall we start, sir?
Yeah, sure.
So, good evening, all of you. We once again welcome you to today's session. And today's we have with us Sri Deepak Makhija Saab. He is local key expert in R&D company called Siemens Limited. So, sir, on behalf of CBIP and all the participants, we welcome you, sir. And we thank you for spending for your valuable time, sir. And we look forward to hear you, sir. And I request better you start with your brief introduction, sir, so that participants can know about you, sir.
Yeah, just a second. Good evening, everyone. This is Deepak Makhija. I have 17 years of diversify experience in multiple SaaS system. I work for the system which are being supplied for SaaS by ABB, GE, and Siemens. I have taken care for multiple jobs even in India and export like Qatar, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and I have also done. I have worked on various phases of project from being FAT engineer to design engineer, commissioning, and handover. So I am IC 62443 expert, and I'm also certified for IC 27001 lead auditor. And
मैं राइट
I'm
कर
working as
लीजिए
a local key expert
ऐसा है
in
तो इसको कुंदन
Siemens.
को ले लेना आप मेरा एक मीटिंग चालू हो गया मुझे डिस्कनेक्ट होना पड़ेगा
Yeah. So I request everyone to
Nah,
be
nah,
mute,
pagal.
like
ठीक है.
if it is not needed. Yeah, so I'm working as a local key expert for cybersecurity, wherein we design solution for the customer, we make proposal for the customer, and we also give trainings and also trying to enhance Siemens portfolio for the cybersecurity. So shall we start, Akshay?
Yes, sir, you can start, sir.
I'll be sharing my screen. Kindly let me know once it is visible.
Sir. You're very much visible and audible, sir. Please.
Okay. Before we start, we just want to set a ground rule, right? We'll be going through the presentation in the beginning. If we have any question raise, let us park them aside and we will try to handle more and more question answer in the last. Yeah, I hope it would be fine with each and everyone. So like, as we know, the course curriculum says that we have to go through the basics, we have to go through the interim, and we have to then slowly move towards the advanced. So we are into the basic phase. So we are going to start with the basic level of cybersecurity. So what we are going to cover today. So we are today talking about the basics of cybersecurity. What are the common terms which are used? We also talk about various malwares, what are those and how they are different from each other, how the evaluation is taking place in the digitalization, what are endpoint devices and what is their security, what is server security, network security, software security, and how we cater the security for the ICS and the SCADA. So these would be the main content from which we are going through today's presentation. So today, the cybersecurity is a very buzzword, and when we talk about cybersecurity, so everyone has its own definition. Yeah. So in my view, the cybersecurity is a practice of protecting digital attacks which are happening against system, networks, programs, or information assets. Yeah, so these cyber attacks are having some intention. So we have to also understand that what is their intention. Then based on that, we also try to find out the mitigation. So those cyber attacks try to assess our information. They try to change our data. Yeah, or they sometimes try to destroy our sensitive information. Yeah. So there could be another person or another purpose which could be extorting money from the users. There could be reasons like where there is an intention of disturbing the normal processes which are going on, let's say for a power plant or for a manufacturing plant. So that could be also the intention by which the cyber attacks are planned or targeted. So when we say the cyber security, it just talk about the three key values. These three key values are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So the confidentiality means the data which is kept private, the data which is intended to be kept private and secret, then it should remain in that manner. And the data should be accessed by only that person who is having authority and who is having right to access it. Then we talk about integrity means whenever the data is starting from a source to destination, the data should have a security. There should not be any change in the data, even in transit or from source to destination delivery. When we talk about the availability, the systems shall remain available whenever they are needed for any operation or any intention until or unless they are compromised by any attack. So when we talk about cyber security, it is nowadays like applicable for two fields. One is known as the IT and the second is OT. So whenever we talk about the IT, the only thing is that these three key values parameters get changed or their priorities get changed. So when we talk about the IT, the confidentiality comes as a priority one, then integrity and followed by availability. Like the IT, we have an example of our office's mail server. Yeah. So for that, it is or any other database which is having a user's information that is belonging to the IT comes into the IT domain. So there it is very important that the confidentiality shall be maintained. Then we have to follow the integrity and availability. And while we come to the OT, operation technology, so the prime factor which is to be considered is as availability, then followed by integrity and the confidentiality. Yeah, so that is the main difference while we talk about the IT and OT. There are some other definitions or some terms which are into the practice which might appear in future. Those are known as SRA. So the people, it should be like safety, reliability, availability would be maybe in future for the operation technology. So then we have some common terms which are generally used in standards or in the specifications or while we are talking to the persons on the cybersecurity aspects. So the first thing is asset. Asset is something like for which we are having an intention to safeguard. So those things are called asset. Our SCADA system is an asset. Our servers are the assets. So those things are called asset. So then we have vulnerabilities like we have the systems working on some configuration, some softwares. So there could be vulnerability, single vulnerability or multiple vulnerability means the gap by which the system can be compromised is known as the vulnerability. Then we have a threat. Threat, it is a bad action which can exploit the vulnerability. So the for which the asset are having a threat that their vulnerability can get exploited. Then we have a threat actor. It is the entity which is doing the bad things. Those are known as the threat actor. So they are also known as the hackers, attackers. So this is the term linked with the threat actors or threat agents. Then we have likelihood. It is a probability of something which is happening bad. Yeah, let's say what would be the likelihood if a vulnerability is getting exploited is depend on that what mitigation action or what control measures are applied for the security. So those terms are called likelihood. Then we have the impact. The impact is like it is a quantum of the harm which is caused by a threat. Yeah, so let's say if a person got injured, for it's a layman example, if a person got injured and he got fracture in his leg, so the impact is that his leg got fractured, he's not able to move for such and such duration, he's his works are getting affected. So same way is for our servers. Like if our server is impacted or our PLC system is affected, then what impact it is leading towards, how much loss a company or a service provider is having. So that thing is getting connected with the impact. Then we have security controls, as we know that there could be various threat actors who will be trying to uh, exploit our vulnerability. So there should be proper security controls in action so that we can safeguard ourselves from the threat agents and we can have the less impact on our system for getting compromised. So then we have some common terms like common malware type, which we generally reach day-to-day basis, like viruses. So viruses is something, let's say if we have got a virus into our PC and by default we, or by any action or by any misleading clicks, we execute that program. So that program is having the capability to for the self reproduction into the system. So those things are called virus, which we generally heard. Then we have a WAN. So WAN is something like a virus, but it is also having the capability that it can also get propagated to another computer or other devices via the network. Then we have the Trojan. Trojans are those which appear to be genuine, but they are not. Yeah, they appear that they are the genuine link, they are the genuine software which can be executed, but they are actually not the genuine. Then we have the rootkit. The rootkit are those type of malwares which affect our kernel or which affect the core program of our system and destroy that. And also it may also create a impact on those programs that they will not be giving the desired result. Then we have a keylogger. Keylogger is very common nowadays. Like the keylogger is something, it's a program which will be just making a record of all your keys which you are typing, and it will be sending that information to the hacker. Yeah, it will save all your data, whichever keys we are typing, and this information will be sent via network to the hacker. Then we have adware, spyware. So various time we have seen that when we are into a web page, there would be there would be some ads, and that ads will be downloading some unwanted program which can cause danger to our program or files. Then we have a ransomware, very common nowadays. It is hard among the people, or various ransomware attacks are happening because it is a thing by which the people have also started making money, because ransomware is now also being offered as a service. So that is called as RAAS, ransomware as a service. So there are few attackers who offer this facility to just have this facility for their customer so that they can obtain ransomware. So what ransomware does, it encrypts the whole data of the system except the OS, so that the person is able to get inside the OS and they'll be able to see the notification. Yes, your data is encrypted. To get your data, you have to pay that much Bitcoin or so. Then you will be able to get the access to your main data. So though these are the common terms or the common malware types which are threat to our systems nowadays. Then we see that why these attacks are growing gradually. Yeah, these attacks, we in past we were not hearing that much about the cyber attacks, cyber security. So what is happening now that the people are talking about cyber security, cyber attacks, they are increasing day by day. So we have to see that how evolution has been taken place. Yeah. So that main evolution is for the digitalization. We used to have a first generation substations where all the data was traveling through the copper cables via via the breakers to the RTU or the mimic boards. Everything was on the hard wiring. There was nothing which was on the communication. Then in the next generation, what has happened, there is some communication added. The layer of TCP/IP also got added for the HMI or the control center. Then in the third generation, we are seeing there are BCUs relays. They are talking on IC 650, and then we have a then again TCP/IP is getting added. Yeah, we also sending data to our control centers on IC 104. Yeah, and we are also having ICCP. So we see that the TCP/IP layer is getting added into our requirement and into our substations. Then now we are into the fourth generation where we talk about even the data when it is coming from the breaker or it is coming from the CT should be a digital data. We talk about IC 659-2, which is a process bus. Yeah, we talk about the sample values, goose. We talk about the station bus communication on IC 658-1. We talk about station controller giving data to the control center. Even the substation's data is being also used for the analytics, uh, which are residing at the cloud. And the people also want to get access to that data or analytics via the mobile. So in the fourth generation, we have added more and more communication layers. And the beauty is that we cannot avoid it. Yeah, we have to grow fast with the fast growing world. So those TCP/IP layers would be keep on getting added. We have to handle the big data and we have to also perform the analytics so that we can attain more efficiency from the system. So what happens like how the infrastructure is getting changed, like there is more interconnection between the substation or the processes to the cloud. We have common IT components used. Yeah, we have like cloud application in usage. We have collaboration between the IT and OT. We are talking about big data analytics. There are also some common mistakes which are done by a person like infected, let's say infected pen drive getting entered inside our PC, which is creating, which could be a keylogger, which could be a malware program, or which could be also doing some kind of attack to our system. There are the weakest link in the cybersecurity when we talk. It is the human. Yeah. So what happens when a human does a mistake? So that mistake can lead to any type of attack into the organization. So for that, we should focus that how the human shall also be obtained the right or correct knowledge of this cybersecurity or the technology so that they use the same in the right direction. And the next thing is that intrusion via the remote access. The remote access is also very common nowadays, but we have to, while we are using the remote access, we should use in an appropriate manner so that it is not creating any risk to the organization or the system. Then we come to this device endpoint security. So what happens like while we are into the OT system, yeah, while we are into the OT system, there are some endpoints which are connected to the OT, and these endpoints are responsible for making the operation of any device. They are connected in the manufacturing, they are used in the industries, and these endpoints are the access point, or sometimes they are the entry point into the substations or the OT environment. So those things are called the OT, like endpoint devices. So we have to ensure that all the endpoints which are applicable for a process or an industry shall be secured. So what are those example of those endpoints? So first is like we have industrial computers which are being used as servers. So we have to ensure that these servers are properly secured. Then we have HMI, SCADA or DCS applications. These are also referred as a endpoint solution because they are also having a heavily loaded applications which is working for the computation. So those things shall also be secured properly. Then we also have, similar to our HMI SCADA, we also have building automation system which shall be taken care in a dedicated manner for the security. Then nowadays very common. We have IoT devices. Now IoT devices are very common even for the even substations monitoring or the breakers monitoring. And even at our homes, we can see the IoT application is applicable for AC, where we can control the AC from the remote location on the internet. We are having the even IoT applicable in our cars, where we can see the car analysis on our remote devices. Then we have smart metering and energy management solutions. And we have PLCs, RTUs, and IDs. So these things comes under the endpoint devices, and we have to ensure that these devices are properly secured and security controls are uh, applied properly to have a minimum attack surface or no attack surface for any cyber attack. So then we talk about server security. So server security, like we have to ensure that servers are very much important for us, because the servers are the main brain of the system, which collects the data and do the analytics on the on the data. So we have to ensure that the integrity, availability, and accessibility of that server is maintained in a proper manner. So there are some essential steps by which we can ensure security of our servers. So we should keep our OS and softwares updated. Like while we talk about OS, so it definitely comes to our mind like OS is an important part of our computers. Whenever we have a server, definitely it is nothing without a OS. So OS is first layer, which is OS is first main thing which is running on a server. After that, there are multiple applications which are installed based on the need of the system. So we have to ensure that regularly the patching is done. We are also accessing that what are the vulnerabilities which are related to the OS and the software which are being installed for our plant or SCADA or any manufacturing unit. Definitely, we should have a mechanism to check and update. Then we have to implement a strong access control. So when we talk about the strong access control, we should try to enforce the multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication, just a username password is not sufficient. We should also think something beyond that. There are some keys, hardware key locks are coming, which are now being used for getting logged in into the computer. Yeah. So like we have to find out the ways by which we can adopt multi-factor authentication. So Microsoft is also offering some services which are being on, I think, commercial basis. So they also offer a multi-factor authentication for the system. So we have to also configure our system in such a way so that the administrative users have only the access on the full system. Other users should have the access to the system only for the services which are needed by them. Then we should have a secure network configuration. So we should use firewalls and configure those firewalls properly. We should do the proper network settings, and we should have the proper network system or network data or the framing analysis mechanism, so that we are able to identify any attack or any intrusion is trying to come in. Then we should also disable unnecessary service and ports which are not being used in our environment. Then we should also try to do the encryption of our data. Let's say when we are transmitting data from a gateway, so we should try to have a mechanism where we can do the encryption via the TLS or SSL keys. There are some systems which are having a web browser capability. So we should try to seek out for those systems which are having HTTPS enabled, so that we can attain the security, and we should not use such practices of telnet where the data or the username passwords are freely moving into the traffic, and even anybody can see that via the usage of the Wireshark. Then we should have a backup and disaster recovery plan. So we should have a proper backup and disaster recovery plan. We should have a practice of taking the backups, and we should try to keep that backup out of our network. Let's say if our network is also collapsed, so we should have a backup available somewhere else so that this backup can be used to restore the system. So those things shall be planned properly, and things should be taken care properly. So then we should have a role-based access control. It is commonly known as RBAC. It is very important aspects. Nowadays, these it is we have mentioned it for the server as we configure multiple users into a server. So each role is having access based on their need. Nowadays, there are some devices when we talk about the electrical network. So we have some IDs or BCUs available which are having a proper implemented RBAC based on the IC standard. So we should also focus on such type of players for buying the equipments which are having a proper authentic RBAC implemented into it. Then we should have a secure physical access. Secure physical access, when we talk, even when we live in our home, we ensure that all the doors are locked. So we have to ensure that the servers which we are using having a proper key key lock arrangement. This server shall also be kept inside a safe storage or safe panel. We should also be having an arrangement by which the panel can be locked. Even if there should be some mechanism, if a person is opening the panel is or want access to the panel, that should be also logged. Yeah, so that that entry is there who has opened or physically accessed the device. So then we should also do the monitor and log activities. So there are some services which are called syslogs, or what those syslogs does, they will do the monitoring of all the activities whenever any user is getting logged in or whenever any person is getting logged out. Many a time the applications which are running on the system, they also generate a logs and they also store the same log into the system directory. So we should have a mechanism where we can see those logs and we should continuously monitor and do the analysis on those logs to find out that if something is going wrong or everything is in place. Then another part on security is that we have some intrusion detection and prevention system available. So like when we talk about a server, so they are there we called as HIDS, host-based intrusion detection system. So those are the applications which got installed on a computer and they do the monitoring. Like if somebody is trying to get inside from the network port or if any intrusion is trying to get in, so they will do that type of monitoring. And here also we mentioned about intrusion prevention system. But while we talk about intrusion prevention system, so generally intrusion prevention system is not recommended for the OT because the intrusion prevention system many a time what it does the false positive also. Maybe in OT system what happens if anybody tries to ping the data, anybody tries to ping any device, it may be possible if that computer is not listed into the prevention system or in IDS system, the IPS will be blocked. That IPS will block that communication. It may also happen, let's say you have a device and IPS system are so much intelligent that you can configure the system based on their signal address as well. So imagine a situation if a signal is not generated while you are testing your whole system, and that signal is generated maybe once after a month, so that signal will be taken as a attack by the intrusion prevention system, and that will stop that communication of that particular device to your system. Then we have regular audit and vulnerability assessment. So there should be a mechanism by which we are conducting regular vulnerability assessment and the audits of the system to find out the gaps. Then we have a limit physical and remote access. So physical access we talked, and while we talk about remote access, so there are some mechanism by which we can have we even we should try to have a limit on the remote access. But even if it is needed, we should have some policies in place that while we are giving a remote access to somebody, it should be via VPN. Or there are some softwares which are dedicatedly for the secure remote access. Those software shall be used so that we ensure that the remote access which is being given for our system is safe. Then staff training, as I already mentioned, that the persons or the human beings are the weakest link in the cyber security. So we should train our staff properly that how the cyber security practices should follow and how the password hygiene should be maintained, how the phishing up, how they are aware about the phishing emails or things, and so that they can handle any situation and or so that they can be cautious if they are taking any action, yeah, for any cyber related attack or intrusion. So then we come to the secure third party services. Many a time what happens while we are using services or softwares, so we are using the third party software. So we have to see that if we are using a software and it may consist of various third parties, so whether the supplier is also owning for the third party, or when they are giving any vulnerability report, so those third party applications are also considered or not, or the people who are supplying the OEMs are following the secured life cycle process or not. So those are the important parameters while we deal for any OS, or not for OS, like any software which is responsible for a operation. Then we ensure that the accounts which are not being used or the services which are not being used are disabled, and we have to ensure that, and we have to protect our system by using those unwanted accounts and default services. Then we have to implement the cybersecurity policies, like the various aspects which we talk about should in turn make a policy, and we have to ensure that these policies are implemented. And while we are conducting the audit, it should be also ensured that yes, that these processes which are being decided by an organization are in place. So these are the key aspects while we talk about server security. Then we are on to the network security. So when we talk about the network security, it consists of policies, processes, and practices to prevent and detect the monitor to prevent, detect, and monitor unauthorized access on our data, or if any somebody is trying to do any modification in our data, or somebody is trying to get inside our system without our permission, or somebody who is not intended to get in is trying to get inside our network. So it is doing the analytics by having a proper network security in place. So how we do the network security in a network for the OT? So while we talk about the network security, we should have a proper segmentation done. Yeah, proper segmentation means like we have many devices which have the common rules, or which have the common security policies. So we should try to put them in a same segment, so that all the devices with the same requirement should be in the same segment. And we might have also heard about the Purdue model, which talks about that how the segmentation is done, so that there are various levels while we talk from a substation, even from from breakers, IDs, network, how demilitarized zone we are making, how trusted zone we are making. So that I will also show in further slide a typical example where we have represented the zoning or network segmentation. Then we have the firewall and access control. We should deploy the firewalls properly. And one thing with the firewall is that like many people I have heard that they have a firewall, but they do not have the proper configuration done for the firewall. Yeah. Basically, for the firewall, we should always remember by default, we should disable all the communication, and we should enable the firewall enable the firewall policies one by one based on the data communication need. Yeah, we should also try to have a access control. Even the firewalls are having the capability where the users can be configured. So those things shall also be taken care while we are configuring a firewall. Then we have the mechanism of continuous monitoring. As we were talking in the aspects of the server for the logs, the devices are also having the capability to generate logs. And what happens? These devices, they make a log and they store those logs inside the devices itself. So we have the capabilities where the devices logs can be transferred via syslog server. Yeah, and the analytics can be performed on those syslogs. So while designing a system, we should consider all these aspects. Then we talk about secure remote access. So secure remote access, whenever we are giving access to somebody, that person should not try to do any should not try to exploit any vulnerability of our system. So that it is important that we do a secure remote access via the VPN, and also we try to have, if we are in the capability of purchasing, so we should also try to purchase such important software which provide a secure remote access. Then patching, as we discussed for the servers, even the firewalls or the Ethernet switches, they have a firmware installed. And for that firmware, there are also the vulnerabilities which are being getting found out. So we have to also consider those Ethernet switches for the vulnerability management into our practice when we are doing it. So same way as our servers, these firewalls also have the capability where we can create their backup, and these backup should be placed properly so that if there is any collapse in the network, we can use that backup to restore our network. And that is applicable for the firewall, Ethernet switches, for all these devices that is applicable. So then we talk about the software, like when we talk about the physical devices, they have some mechanism. We talk about servers, there is a mechanism. But while we talk about security for the software, that is also very important, because software is a main element which is going to perform any computation or the operation. So while we talk about the application security, it is known as the AppSec. Yeah, let's say if I am a OEM and I'm supplying a software for your plant or your process, so it is my responsibility that I am making that software through a secure life cycle so that the security goals of the organizations are met. Just a minute. So we talk about security testing. So we have to regularly do the testing while we are talking about, let's say, even CA has released a guideline where it says that each and every 6 months the audit or the vulnerability assessment shall be carried out. So that is applicable to the service or the softwares as well, apart from the servers, Ethernet switches, IDs. So this is also important that we are also performing the vulnerability assessment for the softwares. So we have to ensure that authentication and authorization. So here comes the important role where the software's capability is getting demonstrated. Like the software is having the capability for getting role-based access control configured into it, because there are some softwares which are having a default credential and they do not have the facility, or they do not offer the facility for the role-based access control, which is very important and need of the hour. Then we talk about the secure configuration. While we are configuring any software, or let's say we have purchased any software, there would be n number of options available in that, and there would be n number of services running due to those options. So we have to make sure that we are doing the proper configuration so that the service which is not being used or the facility which is being not needed for our plant is not enabled. Yeah. So software also needs patch management, which we talked, and we have to make sure the supplier is also releasing the patches for their customer. It shouldn't be happening. Let's say the patch is needed due to a vulnerability, but the supplier is not having the capability to fix that vulnerability. So while purchasing a software, we have to also ensure that. Then we have SDLC. SDLC is a very important aspect. It also being defined in ICC 2443. It is called a safe, secure, safe life cycle. Yeah. So we have to ensure that there is a security development life cycle available for the software, where it is being also defined that at what stages the how the process is going to take place for a software, how the implementation or the enhancement being getting addressed, how the vulnerabilities are getting addressed when a software is made from the third party. So whether those the vulnerability aspect of that is also considered or not. So that is also it comes under the SDLC, the secure third party component. Then we have to monitor and respond. So we should have a real time monitoring mechanism in the softwares so that they are also have the capability to maintain the log or produce the logs of the activities or any incidents, so that these are easily available for performing any root cause analysis. Then we talked about the various aspect where we are talking about the security, even endpoint security. We are talking about server security, software security, network security. So whenever we are making uh, any ICS, means industrial control system, or any SCADA or HMI or any process control system. So we have to just make a combination of out of those all what we have seen earlier, and we have to ensure that all those things we are applying into our practice, and we are ensuring a defense in depth principle along with that. So defense in depth principle says that imagine let's say a plant or a substation where we have a physical boundary. So we should ensure that we have a physical security available, which is getting monitored by the cameras, and it is also having a locking mechanism so that any unauthorized person shall not enter. Then we have some non-technical controls where it talks about the policies and procedures, that the how the things should be operated and how it shall be planned, that how the shutdown shall be planned. Each and everything should be mentioned in a planned manner, that if a attack has happened, if a server is collapsed, then how it should be handled. There should be a proper policies or procedures, and that should be properly planned. Then we have a perimeter security when we make any network. So we have to ensure a perimeter security by having a firewall or having a facility of IPS IDS. We should also have a proper segmentation into the network. Then we should ensure the network security, that we are using the authenticated routing protocols and we are doing the proper network device hardening. Yeah. So we have to also ensure the host security, where host over our servers comes under the host. So we have to ensure that we are doing the proper blacklisting or whitelisting. We are ensuring that we should have some endpoint security softwares are also available nowadays. So those are properly used and configured. We are also have to also ensure that we are doing the proper hardening of the system, so that we are ensuring that unused port are strictly disabled and there is no services running on our system which is not being needed or which is not being used. Then we have a application security where we were talking about SDLC or so. So we have to ensure that the application which we are using for our purpose, they have gone through a proper testing where the vulnerabilities are being checked, and other mechanism or even authentication and access controls are checked. And then after that, we should try to and we should make our go ahead on using such type of softwares. Then we at the end we comes a data. So all those layers are applicable and shall be applied for having a security for the data. Then it is a architecture where I have taken a Siemens example.
Can we just go to the last slide? What is segmentation in the perimeter security?
Yeah. So segmentation is like when we I'll explain this in the next slide. Is it okay?
Sure.
So here I have shown an architecture which is IC 62443 3-3 certified. So there what we have done a segmentation. Like our IDs are giving data to our controllers and the HMI and the RTU. So they are having the common interest and they are having the common need. So what we have done, we have made a zone, separate zone, means they will be having a separate IP class and they will be running in a separate zone. Yeah. And then they are divided by a firewall from a demilitarized zone. This zone is known as a demilitarized zone, which will be having a totally different class of IP, where we have a service PC, which is required for doing the configuration. We have the logging server used for collecting the log, and these logs can be transferred to the control center or SIEM or SOC. Then we have a role-based access control server, and we also have a certificate manager, like wherein we can manage the TLS certificate for the communication. Even if if a service PC has to access or has to enter into this trusted zone, it has to pass through via the rules of the firewall. So that is basically called perimeter security, where we have done a segmentation of common devices from devices which are very rarely used.
No, in the perimeter security, we have already mentioned a firewall in the things that are covered, means examples. So
Yes.
is the firewall kind of one segmentation technique, or segmentation means something different than firewall?
No, actually, when we talk about the segmentation, so the segmentation can be done even when the two networks are isolated. But when we want that two segmented devices shall talk to each other, they shouldn't have a direct connection. They go via firewall. Am I clear? There can be a case where we have two separate segments available, but that segments are not talking to each other. But if there is a need that two separate segments should talk to each other, then the traffic should pass through the firewall.
So means to say that if we are not using the firewall, segmentation will not work.
No, it will work.
It will work.
Segmentation is something.
Yes.
You are creating a zone. You are creating a zone where you are keeping the devices with the same interest into a separate IP range.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Rohit ji asked the question. So if you allow that, as you said, Makhija said, like if there are networks which we need not to communicate to each other, then we can divide in different segments that will in any way restrict the traffic from one network to another, which will restrict the thread. But if those networks need to communicate to each other and there are different type of networks, then we need to route the traffic through firewall. That will again provide some level of segmentation where the networks on the different segments will be different.
Right. And while we talk about IC 62443, so in 62443, there are two concepts come. What is one is called zone, and the second is conduit. So when we have a communication between the two zone or two segments, it is called conduit. Okay, so those are the technical terms which are used in the standard. Like if we are doing a segmentation, Yeah, that is also okay. There could be an interest that they are not talking to each other. But if they want to talk to each other, there should be a proper firewall, and which is known, this path is known as a conduit. Okay, and now I come to this slide, and maybe one more slide is there, then we can also come for discussion. Yep. So when we have this architecture, we created this architecture, and this is being approved for 3-3. So the perimeter or the vectors which are needed for 3-3, it ensures that there is a access control and account management. There is a security logging is ensured. System hardening is ensured, and there is a proper mechanism for security patching and backup and restore. There are malware protection is in place. There is a data integrity is ensured in the architecture, and it is also having a facility for the secure remote access. So from these things, we are clear that these are the IDs which are giving data to the controllers. This is RTU which is also sending data. Apart from that, you might see some other equipment here, which I would like to emphasize or explain here. Service PC is a PC which is used for the configuration of all the equipments. When we are talking about the log system, so here nowadays there are some clauses where few people are using SIEM or SOC. These SIEM is called Security Incident and Event Management Server. So what this PC will do, it will collect the logs from all the IDs and all the computers, and it will send this log to the control center for the analysis, Security Operations Center basically. Then we have a RBAC server available, and this is a dedicated server which is ensuring that if a device or any configuration software need authentication, then it has to go via RBAC. Then we also have shown a certificate manager. It is a software, or it is a software running on a server which generates a TLS certificates, and it also renew those or revoke those certificates when they need. Like nowadays, we also talk on secured 104, right? So there are devices which have the capability of sending IEC 104 data with TLS. So for that TLS, there is a requirement of the certificates. So this certificate manager software does that role. Then while we are talking as a in cybersecurity as a holistic approach, so we should consider three parameter as an important. These we define as PPP. So first thing is people, that awareness and understanding shall be there for the working staff. And then we should have a proper processes by which we are also taking care for the product life cycle, software's life cycle. Yeah. And we also have the policies of backup, restore, authentication, password policies. Each and every process should be properly made. And then we have a products. So when we are buying products, we should use or we should choose those OEMs where we ensure that we have the facility available for the vulnerability management. We should have a secure, they are taking care for the secure lifecycle management. They're taking care for their product for the CIA aspects. So we have to think of this PPP parameters while we are talking about a holistic approach. And this is all from my side. Now we can talk about any questions or any open
Yes.
discussion.
Can we go to slide 16 or 17?
This one.
16, yeah. So as far as ICS is concerned, OT systems are concerned, you know that one of the most known vulnerabilities enablement of ports for OPC in the firewall.
Okay.
Because OPC will work on any of the unregistered ports. So what is the solution that it's suggested to restrict that port opening? And has it been achieved or implemented somewhere? Means one of the known threat of
May I know your name?
Prem Prakash Rai.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Prem. So actually, when we talk about OPC, OPC is having two versions. One is OPC DA and one is OPC UA.
UA.
Okay. So when we talk about OPC DA is having some dynamic characteristic due to which the ports are getting shifted. So yeah, but OPC UA is more secure than OPC DA. So we should try to go for OPC UA wherever possible. So this is only suggestion, like where is the only restriction that we have to use OPC, and apart from that OPC we do not have option available. So we should try to go for OPC UA.
Okay. And
How is
say,
OPC UA more secure?
sorry.
Sorry.
How is OPC UA more secure than DA? What is the difference?
OPC, in my view, OPC UA attains a fixed port number by which the rule can be there on firewall.
Okay, thank you. Sir, I have another
If
doubt. By
Hmm.
network segmentation, do you mean only giving a different IP range, or is there something else that also needs to be done?
Yeah, actually, while we're talking about the segmentation, so it is the first thing is that you have to use a only thing is that you have to have a separate IP range. And the second thing, when you are giving data towards outside from that particular segment, you are using a proper firewall, which is also having a capability of intrusion detection system at least.
Okay, sir.
Here,
Uh,
imagine a situation like if I have this segmentation done, even if an attacker will try to guess IP or will try to get enter inside my first PC. So for getting access to the another segment, he has to or she has to do multiple attempts to gain the IP address for the other area. So in this way, I'm trying to just add a layer of security into the system.
Okay, sir. Sir, could you please elaborate a little more on DMZ, demilitarized zone, exactly what it means?
Yeah. Demilitarized zone is a sort of buffer between a secure zone and the control center or a outside world. Yeah, so what will happen, like in demilitarized zone, if somebody is trying to get in, so he or she will not be having a direct access to the main equipments which are responsible for the operation. So in this way, demilitarized zone creates a buffer sort of thing in a substation, which will be first layer, and it will be having a restricted access to the let's say secured zone
Basically through a firewall, sir.
through a firewall, of course.
Thank you.
And just to add, Deepak sir, like DMZ, the every connection which is coming from the outside world is terminated at DMZ, and a new connection to the internal zones is initiated, and
Yes.
that happens with the help of again then RBAC and IAM.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anupam this
Hey.
side.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Anupam.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand this IEC 62443 that you are talking about. Does it cover the technical specification of the products also?
No, actually, when we talk about IC 62443, so IC 62443 is divided into 4 segments. When we see that IC 62443 dash, here 2 is applicable, 3 is applicable. So 1 is for the general policies, 2 is for the processes, 3 is for the technical solutions. And when we talk about dash 4 is applicable for a product. So dash 4-1 is applicable for secured product development lifecycle. 4-2 is for the secured components.
Okay, so when you talk about that OPC UA thing, so does that covers in this IEC 62443?
No, actually, for our case, like the architecture which is being shown is not having the requirement for the OPC.
Okay. So that is something which is outside this IEC standard.
Yeah, this is outside this.
And what I understand that is the IEC 62443 is for the product based standard, and IEC
No.
61850 is for the implementation part of it.
No. Actually, as I told that IEC 62443 is divided into four levels. Each and every level is having its own significance. While we talk about 2-4, so 2-4 says
It is clear. That part is clear. My question is that this 62443 is for the product development, integration process, and technical functionalities, and IEC 61850 that is for the process, I think.
IEC 61850 is a protocol for the communication.
Okay.
Yeah, so like how the data is given from the IDs, so that is being the case.
Mr. Deepak, good evening. I'm Naman here from Adani Transmission.
Yes,
Nice
sir.
to hear you. Yeah, only I have one doubt here. In this architecture, we have shown the DMZ and remote access here. Okay, so it is before the central means control center, right? So generally in control center also we are having the some of the layers, and we are also having the DMZ. So in this case, are we projecting that substation level DMZ should be used for remote access and syslog transfer, or we can also, or we should transfer it through control center?
Actually,
Because in your architecture also having the control center.
if I heard correctly, you are Mr. Naman, hai na?
Yeah, I'm Naman here.
Yeah, Naman ji. So actually, when we talk about there's some architecture, yeah, they use IDMZ, right? If I'm going in a right direction. So like that is called a intermediate demilitarized zone. So what happens? Let's say it is a layer. It is a secure zone. On top of that, you are having a demilitarized zone. After that, you are trying to implement a level 3.5 as a intermediate demilitarized zone. So what is happening? If there is an attacker, he or she has to go to your device. He has to go via two steps. Here, the demilitarized zone is only applicable, and we have to ensure that security controls or the requirements which we have for even the patching are configured properly into the demilitarized zone, and they are giving data to the control center in a secured manner. Yeah, it is all about ensuring the security into the system.
So if I ask some more elaborated way, if I want to patch my Windows, okay, or I want to use patching through PMS. So my PMS will be at the DMZ or at the station level or at the control center level.
So
As
how
per
we
this architecture.
how we project this architecture, like from the control center, the patches are being pushed into the service PC. Okay, and that service PC is responsible for pushing the patches into the secured zone.
Okay.
Okay, and that patches could be for Windows or they could be for antivirus. So we follow this.
And what about the backup recovery? Means, are you using means in this system? Is there any NAS system?
No, NAS is separately not used here, but we can have systems, or we can have a PCs where we can put a let's say RAID 1, RAID 3, RAID 5, where we can have additional drives available in the system for creating the backup.
So what is the preferred location of NAS system in this architecture?
In this architecture, if the NAS would be there, it would be in the DMZ.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Ankit here. Any specific reason for putting the NAS in the DMZ? Because that will be like the disaster recovery, like the backup solution, and
I
we'll be
also have the
putting
same
it
question.
open in the open, like.
No, I'll tell
untrusted
you.
network.
Yeah, I'll give my view.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, when we talk about the cyber security, so it is like a thing that various practices being followed by various customers, various supplier, and there could be a difference, also difference of opinion as well. I'll give my point of view. Let's say when we project this architecture, we say that all the backups are getting created and they are getting stored into the service PC. Okay, and that's why when we have the NAS here, so this service PC will have the path for storing that backups into the NAS drive. I don't see anything special which I will be achieving by keeping this NAS server into the trusted zone. Anyway, I'm making a mechanism where by which the backups shall be stored in my service PC by having a hard disk, additional hard disk. Yeah, and that hard disk, if I want to put a NAS, I want to replace that hard disk by a NAS.
But I mean, from my perspective, it will be more open to the untrusted network. I mean, if, if any unauthorized people or access is required, so it is more open to the service PC, the unauthorized access, then after this DMZ to the main plant. So if it is more open, yeah.
So even while I talking about keeping NAS into DMZ, so there could be a possibility like let's say I'm keeping my NAS to the link which is directly accessed by the control center, or I'm keeping my NAS after or behind the firewall.
So here I would like to say something like even if you are putting as Deepak sir said, if we are putting our NAS into DMZ zone, then again it is it is secured via the identity access management and the firewall rules. So if I need to access the NAS from the service PC itself, so if my NAS is on like maybe Linux based, so I need to use Radius authentication for that. So again, it is behind layered security.
Yeah, and like when we are adding these things, like that's why we always say that we have to have a mechanism for the proper IAM. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why there are mechanism available for encrypting the data, encrypting the communication channel, and many time the purchaser like doesn't want that because it adds a additional infra building or the cost building into the solution.
Yeah, like this solution is not like that. Like it is fully like it's customizable and it depends upon the requirement of the customer as well. So we in Siemens follow the standards along with the customer requirements. We try to cope up with both. Like we are not compromising with the security and the standards, and we also try to cater the requirements of the customer.
I mean, my concern was more about like complying the CA guidelines. I mean, of course, OEMs can do that based on requirements and all, and the perspective might be different while reading out the guidelines and complying it. So how, I mean, as a standard solution, how it can be done or how that can be achievable?
Actually, I would like to understand, like we talk about CA guidelines. So, which line or the which paragraph or which sentence you are referring here from the CA guideline? Because it is a 24-page document, talks about various aspects.
No, I mean, I'm not talking about particular point. I'm just talking about perspective because it for example, for renewable assets, I'll be more into. So for that, the CA guidelines or I mean IEC 62443 as well, it is defining a lot many stuff, and the perspective might be different while compliance to it. For example, the NAS thing, it is just been discussed. So I mean, from my perspective, the NAS, I mean, should not be, I mean, in the first counter, or I mean, more open to the, I mean, this internet connection, and it should be after like 2 layer of firewall zones, and so that it will be secured one. But certainly, I mean, the understanding on, I mean, what exactly the government is asking us to implement, or we can make ourselves much safer, which is the core requirement of the guidelines. So how that can be achievable? My
Okay.
concern is that.
I'll now talk on the CA guideline. I'll present here some important key points. I think if you will be taking care for that, you will be mostly complying to that. Correct? I'll be not talking on the aspect that where you should have a CISO, your CISO should perform some activities that you have to take care. But when we talk about the CA guideline, it talks about the secure architecture. So it is a very well defined example of a secure architecture, proven, tested, and certified. Okay, this is a secured architecture which CA guidelines also talks about in line to 62443. CA guideline talks about the firewall, which is shall be having a capability of the IPS and IDS. So there is a proper firewall which is catering to that. There should be a proper mechanism which is talking about the security patching. Yeah, CA guideline also says that you should do the patching of the legacy equipment and you should change the legacy equipment when they need it. Yeah, and you have to do the vulnerability assessment each and every 6 months from a certain empaneled company. And you have to also apply those mitigation. Yeah, the next thing it talks about the security logging where the CISO has to maintain the logs for 6 months. So it has the capability of the security logging. You have a logging server where the devices log can be stored into the system. Yeah, and they can be further even sent to the upper level if you have a SOC available there. So these are the main key points which by which you can meet the CA guidelines. Yeah. And also, I would like to emphasize one more point here, as we as a Siemens are also a certain empaneled company. Yeah, I hope I was able to clarify your doubt.
No, Makhija ji, I'll put it this way. The data that is being generated from the trusted zone, right?
Yes.
And if we put it on the substation controller zone or trusted zone that we are mentioning here, what is the security lapse, if any, would be there? And what if we are putting in the DMG zone, what threats we'll be facing? Because as Ankit ji suggested, the data, if we are putting it in the DMG zone, and DMG zone anyhow is first thing that is connected to the external world through firewall, there is a certain possibility that if the breach is there, first it will be getting exposed. And the purpose of storing the data is for backup only. So would that be good to put data as a backup in the DMG zone? And also that data is getting generated from the trusted zone only, means the substation zone only.
I'll give one more perspective for this. Yeah. Like there are some architectures in which intermediate demilitarized zone is also formed. Apart from having a zone, there is another zone which is called intermediate demilitarized zone, which can be used for having the patches and dedicated backup mechanism. Yeah, for that, definitely it will be giving more security because it is neither coming into the demilitarized zone nor it is coming into the security zone. It is altogether having a separate zone available. Yeah, for that, one has to attain that security. The expenditure has to be done. And while we are talking about the backup mechanism, it was also being informed, or I use this in my presentation, that when we are making a backup, we should try to keep that backup offline. Yeah, it shouldn't be happening that our server is crashed and we are also keeping that backup of the server on the same server itself. Yeah, so even if you are keeping in the demilitarized zone or in trusted zone, in my view, it will be having same significance. Uh, you have to save your NAS by proper authentication mechanism.
Okay.
I have one doubt. See, in our general our projects, we are using firewalls and extra internal firewall and external firewall. Is that a necessary requirement or to achieve the demilitarized zone, or the firewall, one firewall you have shown in here is the sufficient one?
Sir, may I know your name?
Sounder.
Okay, sir. Sir, one firewall is sufficient for that. It is like everyone choice. Like when I read or go through the multiple specifications, few specifications talk that while we are having a gateway, there should be a dedicated firewall which should be giving data into the gateway, and there should be a dedicated firewall while we are sending data outside from the gateway. Yeah, so it is totally dependent on the user's choice, but from the security perspective, one firewall is sufficient to maintain the security.
So here we are talking about the segmentation only based on the rules, how we are writing in the firewall. Like,
yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Deepak, I just Anjan here. I believe PGCL recommend for different make of firewall for internal or external.
I'm sorry, I have never came across through this clause.
But utilities also recommend such different make of firewall for more secure network. I believe that.
Yeah, we are having such requirements different.
So if the requirement is there and the purchaser is ready to do the expenditure, then there is no harm in that. Like when I'm saying, like I was talking for the demilitarized zone, it is also having an additional layer by keeping one more firewall. Yeah, when we are keeping more layers, so it will be like giving more headache to the attacker when he tries to get into the first layer, second layer. So there would be possibility that he or she may quit of making an attempt of attack.
Sir, Anil here. Hello.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sir, can we use the two firewall, like say first layer will be the external layer, internet, right? Then the first firewall, the full feature firewall, then DMZ zone, whatever the Internet Explorer servers will be there, that will be put it in DMZ. And then below that, another firewall that can be two different make firewall. And then your enterprise LAN that include all your credential servers like authentication servers or NAS servers, all. So this is one setup. Here we are talking about only one single firewall, and we are trying to create a DMZ using one single firewall. So if we use a two separate independent firewall with a two different make, right, and two different purpose, so you can say kind of a perimeter segmentation at firewall level itself. So is it more worthful or how it will be? Any more ideas, sir?
Actually, sir, what is happening now? Let's say, as I was giving an example of a gateway. So if we are adding first thing, that even if we are using a different make, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we do not endorse any specific make. You can have a multiple make at one layer using, let's say, X make, and at another level you are using Y make firewall. So there is no problem at all. So only thing is about the proper configuration. And if you are using two separate firewalls, so definitely it will be giving you more security into the system. But if we try to implement for IEC 62443 3-3 secured architecture, the one firewall would be also giving a sense of security.
So you mean to say, as per standards, one firewall will be enough, right?
Yes.
As per standards for compliance requirement. But
yes.
it is up to us, or it is up to say
Right.
requirement, whether you want to go through how. This is the one approach only, right?
This is the one approach only. Yeah, right, sir.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Deepak ji, Surendra here.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Deepak. Mr. Deepak.
Yeah. Mr. Surendra, I think we should give chance to Mr. Surendra as he was saying something.
Deepak ji, in my view, in my mind, we we take a firewall and where we can.
Sorry, Mr. Surendra, you are not audible.
For outer world, we can use a firewall and with the DMZ. So can we?
Sir, you are not audible.
Mr. Surendra, you are not audible.
So may I raise my question?
Mr. Deepak.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Deepak.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
Yeah, this side Neeraj. I just want to know, actually, there's a follow-up question to the discussion which has been taking place. Like when the patch management server is kept in the DMZ, okay, and from there we are pushing the updates and the patches into at my layer 3 machines. So what sort of minimum security do you endorse? It's like port blocking, IP blocking, or whitelisting of IPs, ports, MAC binding, IP plus MAC binding, and other access control. So what sort of minimum security controls do you suggest for pushing off in the event of pushing off patches from the DMZ to the secure to the machines kept at layer 3 at my secure zone?
Okay. And while we are while talking for the pushing of the updates, so for these type of OT critical equipment, we do not follow this MAC binding, because what happens while doing any maintenance, this MAC binding creates a very huge efforts. Yeah. So for that, we should have a filtering by the IP and the port numbers which are needed for pushing the necessary updates.
Are there any other access controls also that we can ponder upon in addition to IP and port?
So like when it also depends, like either we are pushing via manually, then definitely there could not be. But when we are having a WSUS, so then we should do a proper configuration of the WSUS.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, because it will go in two manners, like the IDs and Ethernet switches, firewalls. They do not have such a mechanism which is available for the WSUS.
Sorry, another follow-up question is because there have been cases I was going through that over the net, there have been cases when wherein it was reported that automated patching has created a whole lot of issues as well.
Yes.
Okay, because
yes.
WSUS is basically just downloading the thing and you are just pushing, just relying on the capability of the WSUS that it will be pushing the security patches and all onto my secured machines. But so how to arrest this issue, because automatic patching is it suggested, or how does Siemens? What's the take of Siemens on this?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So when we talk about like for OT, the known standard is IC 62443. That is known to each and everyone. So IC 62443 2-3 talks about the patching mechanism also. So the patching mechanism says that the patches which are being or which we want to deploy to our system shall be tested first in a lab in a similar environment which is existing at site before deploying to the site. Okay. As a Siemens, we have a practice. We offer, let's say, 4 level of service, wherein at first level, we collect the asset information. At level 2, if the customer needs, we also give them the recommendation for the vulnerabilities. At level 3, we test those patches in our lab environment by creating a similar type of setup or typical setup which is existing at site. And at level 4, we deploy the patches at the site. So this is how Siemens address with respect to the standard, and the service mapping is done in line to that. Now, when we talk about WSUS, so WSUS, we do not recommend to have or go for the automatic update of the patches. WSUS is a service which can also be used as a, or it can be also configured as an offline service. So means the selected tested patches shall be, or the successful tested patches should be pushed to service PC, and that only those patches would be deployed into the system environment.
Okay, so that becomes the responsibility of the entity utility to first test those patches. Once they getting the confidence about those patches, then only deploy on the service machine.
Yeah. So like there are two ways. I would say either the utility is doing, or they are hiring somebody who is capable in doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So like as we have a dedicated service model available for this patch management, and for your information, like we also have 1 or 2 contracts in India where we are doing this.
Okay.
And just add like
Mr. Deepak.
WPS is
yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah. You are audible.
Yeah. I'm from GACG. One question, rather concern we are having. Say in some plants, suppose the SCADA or the ICS system, it is a very old one, and in that upgradation of the software for IDS and the IPS would not be possible without validation from the OEM. In such cases, what should the people do?
No, actually, when we have when we are talking about cybersecurity, so we should try to attain a risk-based approach. Yeah. And let's say we have a very old system and where we do not want to upgrade the whole system, then what we should do? So therein,
because upgrading will not be possible. Or
so therein we should try to think from a defensive depth concept. At least we should try to have a at least try to build a perimeter security, so that we have a let's say IDS available or a proper firewall available at the level where the data is going outside. And wherever possible, like hardening can be done in any of the device, even the devices are old or the softwares are old. So we should try to do hardening, and also like we should try to at least implement antivirus into the system.
Ma'am, for implementing an antivirus, because again implementing an antivirus in a SCADA system, again validation has to be done by the OEM. Unless and until, because some systems, if you put antivirus, then they become slow. Some old systems.
No, actually, what happens the antivirus is that when we have the old system available, okay, so like we have to see which antivirus can support that. And the majorly, like when we are talking from this presentation, we are talking about defense in depth. So we have to follow the approach from the perimeter security. Yeah. So at least the boundaries from where the data is going outside, we should try to obtain the firewalls.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Do we have any other queries?
Yeah, Mr. Deepak, Marimuthu this side. Can you explain more about IDS and IPS and hardware-based IDS, IPS and software-based IDS, IPS?
Okay. So when we talk about the software-based IDS, So software-based IDS are called host-based intrusion detection system. So what host-based intrusion detection system does, they will be installed on a computer and they will be taking care for the data which is just passing through or passing on to that particular host. And then they will be generating alarms. And when we talk about network-based intrusion detection system, so they are the dedicated network-based intrusion detection system. They will be keeping an eye on the entire network for which the traffic is getting passed through. And based on the analysis of that traffic, they will be generating an alert on the management console. Yeah, so that is a difference between the host-based and the host-based and the network-based intrusion detection system. And while we talk about the prevention system, intrusion prevention system, so intrusion prevention system, what it will do, let's say there is an intrusion is trying to come into your system from any device. So it will also stop that communication of that device with your system.
Okay. In the beginning, you were telling that IPS is not recommended for the OT.
Yes, IPS is
May I
not
know-
recommended for the OT. Yeah, so for OT, we recommend to have only intrusion detection system.
May I know reason like why IPS is not recommended for the OT? Because one of our customers is asking us to implement IPS in our
So,
SA
like,
system. Yeah.
correct. So when the customer is asking, we should also give our recommendation that it is not recommended from our side in OT. However, if you want, then for the fail-safe operations, like what happens, let's say, imagine the IPS should be configured in a very dedicated manner. Imagine a situation when our data is flowing through IPS, we have the capability to define even the signal addressing into the IPS system. Some IPS system are also existing like that. Imagine our data, a device was not giving any data, or the one of the data points which was not getting reported from a device, and suddenly it started getting reported, or the value has came onto that particular feeder after a month. So IPS will stop that communication. So anything which it will find that it is not defined in its rule book, it will stop that communication immediately. And each and every time the operator has to intervene, he has to check whether the communication which has been stopped is a proper decision or not. So the operator will be putting more of his efforts into this type of analysis.
Do we have any solution like that? Suppose if I'm executing any command like after a month or 2 months, still I wanted to implement IPS. Do we have any solution?
Yeah. Actually, we should go for a solution which are known as IPDS. IPDS means intrusion prevention detection system. By default, each and every intrusion prevention system is detection system itself. Because if it is not able to detect, then how it will be able to prevent? So we can have a detection mode enabled into it, and the prevention mode we can keep disabled. And if needed and it is governed by the regulatories, then we can use it, but it is at the customer's choice only.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sir, Mr. Deepak, I have got one question. Since IDS, IPS are basically based on the, blacklisting technology, it's just that the signatures and the definitions need to be downloaded and all. So how to address the issue of 0-day attacks and all in the OT environment?
Actually, 0-day generally are a very tough or tricky situations or nowadays. So what happens now, like I have seen a intrusion detection system where while we were configuring that now, it was also giving options for data points, data type, and cast DU address, information object address, even for 104. Yeah, like it is one way giving a restriction that only the data points which are having this address should be allowed in this network. And the thing which is having, or the approach which is only the blacklisting approach, there cannot be a multiple option or anything else can be done. As you should choose a wise IDS which is having such delegated capabilities available. The signatures would come whenever there would be some signature released by a supplier. That can only be the solution. Nothing more can be done in this.
Okay.
Deepak ji, I have a question. Basically, if we are implementing any SIM tool in our environment, we had implemented Nozomi for OT system because it doesn't. I mean, SIM tool doesn't read the OT protocol. So, any must-to-have kind of rule we should have, or like basically we've configured multiple rules where a weak password or any sport activities happening. A lot of activities we have configured, which is getting monitored and we are getting alerts. But any where you can suggest where must to have rules has to be configured on such kind of log monitoring tool like Nozomi SIM tool or something.
Yeah. Actually, here, like I would like to. It should be not as I'm from Siemens, so I'll tell that like we also have a SIEM system, which is also having almost more than 300 rules, and where we do the analysis for the OT logs. Yeah, and those capabilities are there. Like this is called noise reduction. So when a new system is deployed for monitoring of logs, so the noise reduction has to be done very efficiently, because when the system will be new, each and every log will be treated as an alarm or the alert. So that is called as noise in the system. So the noise reduction has to be done very deliberately. And then after that, the system should be handed over to the customer for the operation. Yeah, so we have like a SIEM facility available by which we do the analysis of the logs for the dashboards and analytics. It also has the capability to give the users alert via email, SMS. So those stuffs are also available.
Okay, thanks.
Deepak, my question will be generic, not specific to Siemens, but whether we have started for substation engineering use of multi-factor authentication for configuration server like engineering PC we can say, or
Yes.
HMI and servers in practical environment, and how it is implemented.
Yes, we have like this facility available, where like based on it, it also depends on the customer demand that how it has to be done. Like the devices are having the capability as per IC 62351-8, where they dedicatedly follow role-based access control. It means whenever a person will try to do the engineering of a relay from the engineering PC, the relay will not give directly access to the engineering PC. It will first ask the role-based access server whether the authentication is to be given to that particular user. If RBAC server allows, then only that message. If RBAC server is having that entry, then it will give that access to the relay, and then relay will give the confirmation to the engineering PC for giving the access. So these role-based access we are using. It's there.
How this two stage are covered? So relay will also having a password, unique password, not the default one.
Actually, first thing is that like first a person has to enter inside the computer on which the relay software is installed. Then by that access, when the person will open the, let's say, a relay configuration software, it will be having a multiple roles available. Admin will have a separate role, engineer will have a separate role, operator will have a separate role. So based on that particular role, the access would be given via relay. Yeah, the approach will first go to relay, then relay to RBAC server to back to relay, and then to the engineering PC.
Okay, so relay will interact with your rollback
RBAC.
message server. Yes.
Yes, radius server. The same is available in the Ethernet switches. The same is available in the RTUs, IDs.
So it will also support the Active Directories?
Yeah. Active Directory relay will not support. Active Directory is a feature which is being, yeah, it will support Active Directory. You're right.
Relay nowadays, relay will also support the syslogs?
Yeah, relay have the capability
Yeah.
for sending syslogs.
Okay.
Sir, I just want to know whether Siemens is having the facility to test the embedded malware in the hardware. Do you have any testing lab available to give me the cyber security conformance?
The Siemens is
test
not
the-
having, no, embedded malware cannot be tested until it is available into the vulnerability database. The only thing which can be done is like having a vulnerability assessment done, and based on the firmware available, if there is a published vulnerability, that can be detected, or if there is any configuration flaw, that can be detected. So as of my knowledge, we do not have.
Actually, sir, other than the software, because vulnerability detecting is again based on the database information, which is published by the, NVDs and all available at the NVDs. No? But like to see the malfunctioning or see the, voltage level going up or the, performance of the, these are certain tests, type tests are defined to test the hardware embedded vulnerability in the hardware. I just wanted to know, other than the software part, firmware and all, as you are saying, that is okay. Defined, declared vulnerability testing is okay. There are other tests also available to test the, the performance based test. Okay, this is the ideal condition in which a hardware should perform. If this is the thing, if this signal is going there, so what will be the voltage level, the current level, and on how the hardware will perform. This is generally, these sort of tests are also can be done to test whether the hardware performs the ideal scenario or not. So does this Siemens is having such a lab available across the globe?
No, as of now, I truly say I do not have this information readily available. If I find out, I'll definitely circulate.
Thank you. Are you also into SBOM, like the software bill of materials? Like whenever you are into the downstream or upstream, software providers are there. So are you also looking considering?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. When we even Siemens is having a product cert department, and we also keep on publishing the vulnerabilities being found in our products. So when we talk about software, even if the vulnerability is there in any of the third-party component which we are using or third-party software which we are using, so we also publish that, and we also give the mitigation action for the same.
No, sir, I'm talking about SBOM, software bill of
Yeah,
materials.
as of now, we are not producing any SBOM.
Sir, I have a question. So basically, there is a requirement in metros where the cybersecurity requirement has been introduced. So we have a requirement like the CISOs has to be appointed for more than like 5 years. What is their basic role? Whether they contribute anything on the softwares and the solutions continuously for the time period, or like basically we need to understand the role of CISO for the specific locations.
Actually, the CISO is a very technical, solid person, like should have the knowledge that what should be represented, what should be talked into the forums. Along with that, the roles and responsibility of the CISO is also defined in the CA guideline. That what a CISO should do in case of incident. A CISO shall also maintain the logs. A CISO shall be also able to take decisions. So those are certain things like which are very well defined for the role of a CISO. And even like some companies are also approaching like as to hire a CISO. Some companies are also are looking for the CISO which they want to hire from the external agencies.
So cybersecurity, when coming to the Siemens, just asking you whether you have a certified CSOs along with the solution.
We have a certified expert, like as one of the person I'm IC 62443 and ESA 27001. We have a dedicated people who are CISSP and having holding other cybersecurity related certifications. And in fact, we have the capability to give trainings to the CISOs that what they have to do in their roles. And even to few of the customers, we also talked about like if they want to hire a CISO, we can also appoint a CISO from our company to them.
In case there is a threat been imposed, okay, in such case, what would be the time duration to give certain reports, or whether it has the time frame what the CSO has to take up to?
It cannot be like in my view, like there were some common discussions happening with CA where the time frame was asked, and the time frame cannot be committed in my view. Like if there is a vulnerability find out in a product, so first that vulnerability shall be available in the open platform, and then there should be like a supplier has to ensure that there is a team, R&D team working on it to find out or to find out the solution for that particular vulnerability. Yeah, but in my view, for such type of things, the timeline cannot be given.
I'll just like to add what Deepak ji just said. To this, the CSO is bound to report any such incident within 30 days of occurrence. So you need to take action, preventive or corrective actions within 30 days.
Is there any guideline or anything defined that this is
This
the time
is, I
frame?
think, this is there in
This
the
is on Google
CSO
you write
guidelines.
CA guideline. On Google you write CA guideline.
CA guidelines you
released by
can,
MOP, and it is a 24-pager PDF, so you will get all this information. But I was taking your question in that manner that if there is any flaw, that in how much time that solution would be available. So I was talking on that perspective.
Okay.
Like in page number 14, you may get some about it, and on page number, I say 9, there's little bit written about the yeah.
Okay. So only thing is the CISOs will give the reports how far the attack has happened, and are the remedies how, or like what can be done to avoid such attacks on the future case. So like what is the role of a CISO, whether he will give any kind of
Not it is not on the an incident is happened and then it is to be done. It is like if any sort of vulnerability is detected, and it is the role and responsibility of the CISO to take necessary action on that and report it within report and document it within 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah, but obviously he need to take the action as soon as possible, but document and report it within 30 days.
Yeah, and like
From the
CISO
date
is
and time
having
of
that much
detection.
important role that they will be important. They will be reporting this to the MD or CEO of the organization.
Okay, thank you.
And even CISO need to take report of any kind of patch which is happening into the plant. So it is the responsibility of the CISO to keep the tracking of the versions as well. Like there are very, there are so many responsibilities lies with the CISO. Yeah.
So one more doubt. So we have multiple interfaces when it comes to Metro application. So in such case, wherever I am interfacing, does it mandatory to provide the firewall, the hardware firewall, and also the whatever the system architecture which I am going to prepare for the Metro base, like for the OCC, BCC, how we define an architecture. So whether it has to be certified once after the implementation is done. So is it a case?
Actually, no, you no need to get certified. Like you have to consider the facts which are being represented as, first of all, as per the specification. If the specification calls for IC 62443, then you have to do the segmentation. You have to maintain the access controls and you have to have the loggings and all. So the things which are mentioned here should be part of your architecture.
Just we have got the the cyber security requirement. It has to be fulfilled as per the latest CA guideline. So this was the comment given by the client. But my question is, like, if this secure substation list of parameters, whatever you have given, if that is done, so it is understood that this is 62443 certified, or
Yeah,
else
it is. Yeah.
I need to get certified by third party
No.
or some
You no need to
clearance.
get certified. You no need to get certified. If you are taking care for all the elements, then you do not need any certification. It was a need of ours that we want to prove that we have the capability with our devices to work as 62443 3-3. Yeah, until or unless you do not have the requirement, do not go for that.
Okay.
It would be unnecessary expenditure added into your pocket.
Sure. Okay. Thank you,
Mr. Deepak, as you just earlier said that Siemens is also certain empaneled auditor. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
So the Article 14 states that the 27001 should also cover the OT environment as well. So what sort of controls of 27001s you are looking at the time of auditing? While auditing the OT environment.
So like we
At the
have a
utilities environment.
Yeah. So actually, when we talk about 27001, it is having almost 114 controls available, which a person or a solution needs to be implemented, and that is for the defined scope. So that has to be seen on case-to-case basis. As of now, I do not remember that out of 114, which one would be applicable. Like definitely, if I recall something,
I
it is
don't
about.
mean that you recall. Sorry to interrupt you in between. The major domains which you are looking for. Okay, this has to be there. Okay, this is the bare minimum domains, or these are the some if like you can at least at the domain level, because 114 are as per 2013 and 93 it has been reduced as per 2022.
22. So now actually, when we talk about it even 27001 talks about that incident handling, it talks about the log, it talks about the asset inventory. So those stuff which are applicable for a system scope, that should be taken care. Yeah, and we have a dedicated team which also supports in implementing if a company or a organization want to implement 27001. We are not a authority to conduct the audit or give certification for 27001, but we support the companies like who want to implement 27001.
Thank you.
So Akshay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, like,
I think
yeah.
We can close the session if there is no further query by the participants. Thank you so much, sir. We thank Deepak sir for his valuable time today and given a very good detailed lecture. Still covering the introduction part only, but he's given a very detailed lecture today and answer to the queries of the participants very well. So if there are no further queries by the participant, we can close the lecture. Okay, sir.
Sir, one question. This is there. One concern is there. One request is there, not a concern. Kindly do share the Makhija sir's presentation to all the participants. Today's presentation.
Presentation
To the CVIP team.
Yeah, sir. You will get the presentation. It's not an issue. We'll also mail you the presentation if required. We'll do WhatsApp also. There's not an issue. You'll get the presentation along with. We'll also share question and answer as prepared by Makhija sir. So thank you so much, sir.
Sir, please
Thank
share
you, sir.
this on WhatsApp group.
Okay, sir. You'll get it.
Thank you very much, each and everyone. And I was very much happy in getting that many queries, which would be also helping me in my development. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak ji.